Hello and welcome to the Art of Being Human. I'm going to continue from where I left on last time and talk to you about what you take with you on a trip and what you don't take with you on a trip and how do you arrange to carry what you need. I've said before, you always have to take care of yourself and you always have to be somewhat prepared for an emergency. Not that an emergency is always going to happen, but when it does happen, it happens quickly, it happens fast, and you can be in real trouble if you can't take care of yourself and know what to do. And I think diabetics get into trouble and into emergencies faster than other kinds of illnesses simply because you have to eat every day. And it's a matter of everyday living that you balance everything out. I do want to mention that the care of the diabetic today is so much different than it used to be. I can remember when my father was diabetic that they had to buy, my parents bought a weigh scale and they measured and weighed all of his food. And I think back to that time, and it must have been so demeaning to do that because it's measuring everything. I can't have this, I can't have that. And one of the problems I see is the fact that to manage the control of how much you take, portion control is so important. And what you can have and what you can't have, it measures on your mind, it weighs on your mind. I can remember my mother preparing meals for me when I was first diabetic, and she would say, well, that's 3 peas too many, so she'd take the 3 peas off. I said, 3 peas? I mean, what is that? Nowadays, it's a lot better and it's a lot easier to handle. A half a cup is so many carbs, so you know that a normal serving for you is going to be a half a cup or 2/3 of a cup, depending upon what kind of food that you're eating, and it's always labeled for you in the back of the package, so it's a lot easier to deal with. Well, supposing that you're traveling, what do you take with you? I like to arrange things. I'm a fairly organized person, although some people don't think that. If you saw my apartment, you might wonder. But I'm always working on at least 6 projects at the same time. But if you are traveling and if you want to keep things so that it makes sense to you and you can handle the diabetes, this is the easiest way to do it. Put things in cases, and I'm going to show you what to put in what case and what to take with you, what you can leave behind, how much you should take with you, and so forth. So we're going to start off with the insulin. This little packet, it's not very big, but it is big enough to hold about 4, maybe even more, of a vial. So you take and you put your vials in, however many, you don't have to have 4, but however many, and you put that case in a little larger case. And then you can put your syringes, however many you think you're going to need, in that case, and then you're all set. You zip it up, and then if you're going out and it's hot out, you take and put that in another case. This is a little cooler. You can tell if I open it up that it is a little cooler. Stick it in, and you always would have an ice pack with you if it's during the summer, and I put my ice packs in a little plastic container too. It just makes things easier. And then you just put all of this in your purse. So you've got your syringes, you've got your insulin, you've got everything you need in terms of injections right there, plus you're going to keep it cool with an ice pack. Now, if it's in the winter, you don't need the ice pack. You don't even need the cooler. All you need to do is to take that little case that has the insulin and the syringes inside and stick it in your purse. But if it's during the summer, you want to keep it cool because heat will destroy insulin. And then you just put that in your purse. Now, you can put that in a little cooler instead of putting it in your purse. The difficulty is, if you're like me, if you have something in your hands, then it means you've got everything in your hands that you need, and that's not the case. If you have all in one unit, in one purse, then you've got it all. You're not going to leave something behind. So that's one thing. Then you take another case. This is for checking your blood sugar. You've got your meter. You've got the little test strips that go with the meter, and you've got your lancing device, so it makes it easier to prick your finger. And you may want to carry some tissues because things can get a little bloody. and you may need to carry a log or something so you can write down what your blood sugar is, because they always like to have that. They always like to have that included. Put it in another case. Now, you do not want to get these cases mixed up. You do not want to put all of this in with your insulin. The reason being is that the insulin has to be may have to be refrigerated. The rule of thumb is you have a vial of insulin out, or more than one vial. If you're going to use it within a month, then you don't have to refrigerate it. It can be kept in normal room temperature. But if you're out in hot weather, driving in a hot car, you still are going to have an ice pack on it to keep it cool. But you never want to cool off your meters, your test strips. You don't want to put those in the refrigerator at all, because to do so would be damaging to them. So you really need to keep them separate. Then if you're traveling, you want to have a little case, and what I have in here is a group of insulin syringes and lancet devices. You can put them together. You don't need to carry this around with you if you're out at home, but if you're traveling, you always need extra syringes, because you don't know. A syringe can break, a syringe can draw blood, it can't be used anymore. You need to have a place to put used syringes, so you may want to have a case and put your syringes in it. If you're going to be gone for a few days, then you can take a whole package of syringes. They usually come in packages of 10, and you get a box of syringes. There's usually 100 in the box. So you can, if you're traveling, you're going to be gone overnight, have the extra syringes. Remember also that you are going to need to bring with you twice as much medication than what you think that you'll need. Because if anything happens, you have car trouble, you get stuck somewhere, then you're going to wish you had the extra. I would also suggest that you keep a list of your pharmacy, the telephone number of the pharmacy, and a list of all of your medications, and the numbers, the refill numbers, in case you have to call for a refill or they have to send you some medication because you're stuck somewhere, and you always need to have that on hand, because you're never going to remember those refill numbers. Now, you also may want to have with you, I want to show you this. This is a package, kind of, and it's a case, and it already has in it, it comes like this. This was a freestyle light meter, and it comes in a package, and it has with it a space where you can put your test strips, and it always has a lancing device with it, and it comes in a packet. Then you zip it up and take it with you. I find that the system I use is easier than fiddling around with this, but it is an option. Then if you're going to be gone overnight, you need to have a case where you take your medications. So I just brought this. It's a small one, but at any rate, you need to have your medications. If you're going to be gone overnight, especially diabetics with heart trouble, diabetics with other medical issues, you may be taking medication several times a day. You need to keep it with you, but you don't refrigerate it. So that's why I like to have all of these things separated in separate cases, because some may be refrigerated, some may not be refrigerated. Some you have to take at certain times, others it's not fussy, whether you might take it twice a day, but it's not fussy what time you take it. So you have to arrange for everything. Some doctors will insist that you wear a medical alert bracelet. Now, the bracelet on this broke, so I don't have the bracelet attached, but you recognize the insignia of medical alert. You can, there's an organization in California where you sign up. I think you have to pay a certain amount a month, and they have all your medical records. And when you travel, you wear the bracelet. If you're in trouble, say you get into an accident and you're unconscious, you can't talk for yourself, it will have a phone number on the back It'll have your condition printed in the back of the bracelet. This one just says diabetic on it, but you could put anything on it. You could put allergy to penicillin. I mean, you could wear one for any reason. It doesn't necessarily have to be a chronic illness, but if you're in an accident and you can't talk, you're unconscious, then some of them will have a phone number. The doctor would call that phone number, and they would have all your medical records, including all your medications that you're taking. So it's an easy way to protect yourself if you are in an accident. And I had a doctor that would insist, and he would check every time I was in his office to make sure that I had my medical alert bracelet. Now I usually just don't bother with it. You can also get little pendants like this. It says, I am diabetic. I have diabetes. Please test my blood before treating me. That's all in case you're unconscious and you cannot speak for yourself. So this is the way that you prepare. Now I want to mention something about hypoglycemic unawareness. I've been saying all along that if your blood sugar gets too low, you're going to know it because of the symptoms that I've listed. You get dizzy, you feel like you're going to faint. It's just a miserable, miserable thing. And so you grab your soda and you drink some or whatever you have on hand. And you always have to have something on hand. It's always good to have crackers on hand too. You can get these packets of crackers with peanut butter or cheese in them because you need to balance out protein. But in hypoglycemic unawareness, you are not aware when your blood sugar is going too low. For some reason, your body gets used to it and it doesn't give you the symptoms that it would normally give you. So you have nothing to go by. And eventually, some people are just not aware when they're getting too low. And they end up by collapsing because they're not aware they're too low and they lose consciousness. So for people who have hypoglycemic unawareness, it's really a disadvantage to have it because you have nothing to go by to know where you are in the blood sugar range. That means you have to test your blood sugar really frequently to make sure you're not going too low because you're not going to get symptoms of it. I have symptoms of it when I get too low. That's why I always carry a soda with me because I can very quickly raise it with a soda. The tendency is going to be, if you are too low, that you're going to drink soda until you feel better rather than drinking it just to get a certain amount, then waiting to see how you feel in 5 or 10 minutes or so, and then drinking more if you need to. I know with myself, I do it all the time, and I imagine most diabetics do. I feel terrible, I have to eat now. And you grab the soda, and you just chug away at it, and you're apt to eat until you feel better. I know I've had times where I've not only drunk the soda, not all of it, but quite a good portion of it, plus I've eaten candy, plus I've had crackers, because you feel so desperate. You know you can't stop the symptoms because there's just no logical way that you can stop them. You just have to have something to eat. So they always told me when I first became diabetic, always have snacks with you. Don't go anywhere without snacks. Don't go anywhere without a drink. Or the easiest thing is to have the glucose tablets. But the glucose tablets, they're so sweet that they don't taste good. They taste good in one sense, but they taste so super sweet that they're uncomfortable to eat. But you have to have them. This is the easiest way to carry a sweetener. You're not going to spill it. You're not going to dump it somewhere. You're not going to get liquid all over your purse. Where do you carry your Mountain Dew or whatever it is that you take with you? Well, I have the answer for that. I have this little case. It goes everywhere with me. I never leave it behind unless I'm just going out for a short trip and I can just take a soda with me and not use it. Inside, I have another case, just simply because it fits better. And then I have two of these. There was shampoo and conditioner, and they're large enough that they cut them in half. It's easy to cut them in half with a knife or scissors, and I use that, and I stick the Mountain Dew in it or whatever I have, or my water in it, and then when I put it in, the advantage of it, it's not going to tip, and you're not going to get soda all over your bag. If something does tend to slip a little and you get some leakage, it's just going to go in these plastic containers, and all you have to do is wash them out. But that's not the only thing I have with it. I have a comb, I have tissues, I have other things with it, anything that I think that I would need. So it's just an easy way to carry what you need. I could put crackers in there if I wanted to. And remember, if you're traveling, you've got to have more than about twice as much as you think that you'll need. And going overseas is a problem because you have to get your syringes and your medication past customs. And you know, you have to, if you're bringing medication, you have to bring it in the original packaging, the original canisters or boxes, because they won't let it in otherwise. That proves that it's medication and not some drug that you're bringing in. But you also need to talk with a travel agent as to how do you get your syringes through customs. I mean, everybody knows that diabetics can travel, but I imagine you would have several of these packages of syringes with you, but people don't usually take syringes unless they're on some kind of medication or they're on drugs. And so I don't know if you have to have a note from your doctor or something to show that you have the right to take syringes with you, because generally they don't want to have syringes go into another country, but you have to if you're traveling. Myself, I don't think I'm going to do any more international traveling because it's such a pain. You know, if I'm going to Israel, and I've made a few trips to Israel, and it gets hot. Israel is in a very hot area of the world. And what if you're on a bus and the bus air conditioning dies? Well, you've got ice packs, but ice packs are only going to keep things cool for so long because they're gradually going to warm up. So you always have to think, does this medication have to be cooled? Does it have to stay cooled? How do I do that? Is the hotel that I'm staying in going to have refrigeration? And does it have a freezer so I can keep my ice packs frozen, so when I use them during the day, they'll keep the medications cool, at least for a period of time. You know, this is something that you need to work out with a travel agent in advance so you don't get into any trouble and you have enough insulin or whatever else you need for medication to go on your trip. And I also want to mention these coolers. You put ice packs in these coolers to keep things cool. You can get these little coolers in which you don't use ice packs. You freeze the whole cooler. You freeze the whole case. I've seen them advertised. They even had one once where it'll say you can keep your insulin cool without using ice packs. So I was curious about that. How do you do that? And what you do is they send you the cooler. It has a gel in it. And the gel is on the side. They're like little panels with the gel in it. You put the whole thing in the freezer, and the whole thing freezes because the gel freezes. Now, I don't like those coolers, and I don't use them. And the reason that I don't is the fact that you get them out of the freezer. First of all, they take a lot of space if you have a small freezer. But they are frozen when you get them out of the freezer, but they're stiff. The sides are all stiff because the gel has frozen, so they're not very flexible. If you want to put something else in them, it might not be a good idea. The other thing I don't like about them is the fact that they warm up a lot faster than an ice pack would. I did an experiment. I took one of something like this, and used an ice pack in it, and I took one of those that you freeze the whole thing, and I put them side by side, and I waited to see which warmed up first. This was in my apartment. And the one with the gel in it that was frozen, that you put the whole thing in and freeze it because the gel freezes, it warms up faster than what the ice pack is. So it doesn't do as good a job in keeping your insulin cool as a regular cooler that you put an ice pack in. Now you can get ice packs at your drugstore. You can get them in different sizes. I like the smaller ones because they more easily fit, but you can use larger ones. And eventually, of course, they're going to warm up, and you're going to have to put them back in the freezer again to get them cold. And the thing is, you know, if you're traveling, there may not be a freezer available for you to do that, which means you're carrying a lukewarm ice pack that has no effect, that is no help at all. Well, I'm going to close it here. I think I've gone over pretty much everything that I need to. You know what to take with you. If you're just going to be around town, you just need to have a soda or something. If you are going to be traveling and gone for the day, you need to take most of this with you. If you're going away on several weeks or you're going overseas, you need to take a lot more with you. You can figure out what you need to take for what you're going to do. If you're just going downtown and doing some errands, then just take a soda or something in case you crash. If you're going out for lunch or you think you might stop for lunch, you need to take a way to measure your blood sugar plus the insulin, plus a soda or something that you need. So you can figure out what you need and when. But the rule of thumb is always be prepared, because you never know when you're going to run into an emergency, and you need to always be prepared for that. If you have any questions or you want to ask me any questions, you can email me and leave your phone number, and I'll call you back and answer whatever questions you have. So we'll be doing something else next week. So I'm going to close it here. Please join me again next week.